Diamond V Sports presents the American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
This beautiful expanse of water is the Clear Fork Reservoir in the Mohican State Forest. You can find it by motoring due north out of Columbus, Ohio, the state capital, and also some typically beautiful farmlands of the region. On this weekend, thousands of motorsports fans, not only from Columbus, but cities and towns all over the Midwest, are enjoying this drive as they head for the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course and the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans. Just how far will these high-tech GTP teams go to gain the slightest advantage? Take a look right here. Tire ovens. Before the starting tires go on that car, they're in those bags for over an hour where they're heated to 190 degrees. Now, that is not such a big advantage at the start of the race, but it certainly was yesterday in qualifying when they did the same thing on the Nissan car. Jeff Brabham was at the wheel with those hot tires, set a track record, 109.4. But the Jaguar was so quick and right behind you.
Well, it certainly is, and it's going to be an exciting race, I think, and one that we're just going to have to go flat out all the way, and we'll see who's left fighting at the end of the race, and we'll go from there.
Your car has the fabled Nissan horsepower. Is that an advantage here? It's not that wide open a racetrack.
Well, the big thing I got to do here is get in front early before we get to the back straightaway, because otherwise I'll just get gobbled up. So I'm going to have to rely on the things that are normally good about the car, is the really good handling.
Best of luck to you and have a safe ride.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, the defending champion, Jeff Brabham, is on the pole. And next to him, well, Brock Yates is with that car.
Well, Steve, I'm with Jan Lammers, who's going to start on the outside of the front row in an automobile that has everybody excited. It's, of course, the new turbocharged V6 Jaguar that did so well in its outing at Lime Rock. And now, Jan, I would expect that you hope maybe to move up one more notch this time.
It would be nice. We just did these first two races as a sort of a test run, but we can't ignore that we're very surprised ourselves that it's already going this good so early. But we keep working away. We're coming closer.
I assure you will. The best of luck.
Thank you very much.
With us. And now let's go to Steve.
Brock starting third is one of the true surprises, a pleasant surprise of this yet young IMSA season. It's the 98 Toyota Group C car with Drake Olson. Drake, you took a couple of seasons off. You're back in a car that really was never intended to race in IMSA, but boy, you get along well together.
Yeah, we've been doing our homework, and it's coming along pretty good.
What's it going to take to keep that Nissan in front of you in sight?
Gonna have to just drive like hell. That's what I've been saying before every race. He's going to be tough here. He's well suited for this track.
He sticks so well in the turns. Can you make it up? Do you have the power to make any of that up on the straightaways?
If he'll let me by, I can make up some of it on the straightaways. It's going to be tough though. But we'll just give it our best shot. We've made a lot of improvements, and maybe we can surprise even Jeff.
2 pit stops ideally.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, Brock.
Well, Steve, I'm with a man we saw drive so well at West Palm Beach in our last outing with these automobiles, Bob Wallach, and he once again will start up near the front. The big, strong Nissans and Jaguars up front, but we've seen you go so well in this automobile that you've got to feel pretty good today.
Well, as you know, this car is a very good car, and it should be a good race today. And we expect a lot of sun, a lot of temperature, because our tires, they love heat, and I'm not so sure the opposition like the heat.
Porsches, they do like heat, don't they? Yeah, maybe it could be. So you'd like to see more sunshine and more temperature, huh?
Well, not only for us, but also for the spectators and for the race itself. I mean, it's always nice when the sun is out and people enjoy being here and watching races.
I just talked to Jim Busby, the car owner, and he said that you're a little concerned about it, the second pit stop. Are you going to be able to go with 2 stops, or will it take a couple of cautions to slow things down to get a little better mileage?
Well, not necessarily. It depends really on the kind of speed the other drivers are going to put on the track, and I'm going to go a little bit conservative, especially where fuel is concerned. And of course, we don't know about the yellows, and which I don't hope that we're going to have too many, because it means that there are accidents, and I hate accidents. Everybody hates them. We do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's hope it's a safe race and a very successful one for you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob Wallach. Now let's go to Steve.
Well, Brock, there's still a few minutes before this field is set to roll for 500 kilometers of racing. So let's take a look at the ribbon of macadam and these Ohio hills that will challenge them all.
And challenge it will be, Steve. This is surely one of the finest road courses in America and perhaps in the world. Lexington, Ohio's Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course has been around for a long time. 2.4 miles, 15 turns, and one very long straightaway.
Running along with the GTP cars in their own race will be the GT light cars, like this Buick Spice machine of Charles Morgan, the 9L car. They don't have all the speed of the GTPs, but still very serious racing machines. And thanks to the driver of the 9L car out of Conway, Arkansas, Charles Morgan, our camera again went for a ride around one of the world's great road racing circuits.
He and Tom Hessert will team up to give us great pictures during the race. But right now, let's take a look at this great racetrack.
And the first thing that Charles Morgan will encounter is the pit straightaway. They'll be coming right at us under that bridge. A big sweeping left-hand turn, a quick right, another left, and into the keyhole part of the course, aptly named, and down the longest part and the fastest part of the racetrack, the back straight.
Here we see Morgan coming down the pit straightaway, setting up for that left-hander underneath a bridge. It's a blind corner, has to be taken under hard braking to set up down this short straightaway toward turn number 2, which is basically just a little kink. There's a right-hander there, then he back toward the left, and now up a little bit of a rise into that keyhole. Now this is kind of off camber. You can see Morgan just sweeping around a 180-degree corner. The car wants to get very light in the middle of that corner. All right, Morgan out onto the back straightaway, up through the gears. The cars will knock on 190 miles an hour down here, the faster ones. This is turn 5, just a little kink, but it's flat out down toward a hard right-hander at the end of the straightaway.
And Brock, that right-hander leads into the area of the course known as the S's. Every road course seems to have an S.
Here comes Morgan, hard on the brakes, setting up for that right-hander at the end of the straightaway and into the S's. Uphill into the little left-hander, kind of a blind hill here, down this little straightaway and setting up for yet another right-hander out onto the back part of the racetrack.
And just under that bridge, turns 9 and 10 pop up very quickly, then hard braking into the 90-degree right turn, turn 11. And back on the gas for a quick straightaway.
A lot of elevation changes here in Mid-Ohio. Here he crests a little hill down toward turn 11. A 90-degree right-hander that has to be taken carefully or else he won't carry a lot of speed toward the carousel.
And the carousel is one of the most popular viewing areas here at Mid-Ohio, and it's reached by that sharp left-hand turn at the top of the screen. You'll feel some G-forces in here, lateral Gs.
It's also the most difficult, really, series of corners in Mid-Ohio. It not only involves some elevation changes, but a change in pavement right in the middle of the corner. Here comes Morgan into the carousel, braking hard, downshifting and setting up for this big sweeping right-hander. There you see the pavement change as he heads toward the apex, down off the corner and toward the front straightaway. On his left, the pit area, and up ahead, turn number 1 to complete a lap here at Mid-Ohio.
And again, our camera got to have all the fun riding along with Charles Morgan on an exciting lap of an exciting racetrack. 2.4 miles, 15 turns, and it's going to see 500 kilometers of action today.
With a mixture of great automobiles, the big, strong prototypes, and the smaller but equally competitive GT lights. On the pole, appropriately enough for the Nissan Grand Prix, Jeff Brabham in a Nissan, Jan Lammers in the Jaguar beside him, Drake Olson, Toyota, Davy Jones, Jaguar, Bob Wallach in the very competitive Porsche, and Costas Lowe starting in the Spice Pontiac. So what we have here, Steve, is Toyota, Jaguar, Nissan, and Porsche, as well as a production-based American automobile or two.
That's right, and back in the lights class, you've got a lot of variety as far as engines are concerned. There's Mazdas, there's Buick and various General Motors V6s, there's even a Porsche and a Ferrari here and there.
We got a terrific variety of machinery getting ready for this 500-kilometer race as we watch Charlie Morgan warming up his tires. One of 3 camera cars we've got here, Bob Wallach in his Porsche and Jacques Villeneuve in his Corvette. We'll be back for the drop of the green flag at the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio.
This pretty little girl, I'm sure someday will learn the legend of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. They did indeed have it all, and it started here at Malabar Farm, owned by their friend, noted agronomist and screenwriter Louis Bromfield. Bogart and Bacall were married right here, not far from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates, and a start is imminent of the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio.
Steve, they're on the second of 2 pace laps here on this big 2.4-mile racetrack as Jeff Brabham leads the field up into the keyhole. Now they're going to form up 2 by 2 and take the green flag on the back straightaway. Apparently to ease the congestion that obviously happens if you start on that front straight. Here they come. Brabham and Lammers, Nissan Jaguar getting ready to go, and Brabham jumps the start beautifully, takes the green flag and establishes an immediate lead as they come down toward that right-hander at the end of the straight, Steve.
Brabham wasted no time getting the boost up on that Nissan. We're riding with a 5th place driver. This is Bob Wallach in the Porsche. Wallach said his tires love heat. Well, he's giving them all he can.
Bob Wallach, one hard driver as he sweeps down off the S's and under the spectator bridge on the back part of the racetrack. Brabham has pulled out a little bit on Jan Lammers, and here is Jacques Villeneuve back in the 10th spot. Up ahead of him, the yellow Corvette-powered Spice car of Bob Earl.
And here's the leader, Jeff Brabham, the red and blue Nissan car, making that left turn that'll take him up towards the carousel. Right in behind him is Jan Lammers in the brand new V6 Jaguar, followed by the 98 car. That's the Toyota Group C style automobile of Drake Olson. They are 1, 2, 3.
And right behind them is Davy Jones in the other Jaguar, and then our camera car, Bob Wallach, in the 5th spot. Look at this. Brabham has already opened out about a 10-car length lead on Lammers as we watch Bob Wallach charge up into the keyhole. That tight 180-degree corner at the end of this racetrack leading onto the back straightaway. Jeff Brabham, there he goes. Right behind him, Lammers in that surprisingly quick turbocharged Jaguar, but he can't seem to pull in Brabham, who's been so powerful all season.
Yeah, poor Jeff Brabham in that underpowered Nissan. If you remember the open of the show, nobody really is saying anything good about their own automobiles. With IMSA's rules meetings coming up, no one wants to be penalized with more weight or have their turbo more restricted. It is true, however, Brock, the Nissan doesn't have the raw horsepower it had a few years ago.
Well, did you ever hear a race driver say, I got too much power? They'll always tell you some sad story as we watch Jacques Villeneuve charge down into that corner on the back part of this racetrack, trying to move in on Bob Earl. There is the 33 automobile of Costas Los, that Pontiac-powered Spice, which has shown surprising strength this season.
That's right. We saw it in 3rd place at the checkered flag in West Palm Beach. Costas Los with, as you said, the Pontiac motor with a lot of Cosworth influence there.
Right. Giampiero Moretti right behind him in that red 962 Porsche, trying to move past Los, and right behind him is Bob Earl in that 64 automobile, the yellow car, which is again a Spice car with Corvette power.
The Spice cars are very light, a little on the small side, and very interesting to watch. Thrilling cars through the tighter parts of this course.
And here's the race for second between Jan Lammers and Drake Olson. Kind of new versus old, Steve. That Jaguar brand new, the V6 Turbo, but the 98 car of Drake Olson, the Toyota from the Dan Gurney team, is an old-timer. They brought it over here as a kind of a test bed automobile. It was designed for Le Mans and Fuji and some of the longer racetracks. They never expected that it would perform on these tighter American road courses, but it's been a terrific machine and a real surprise to everybody.
It is a tried and true old horse to be sure, and here comes that V6 Jaguar. It's odd not to hear that V12 sound emanating from one of the cats, but not here.
So it's V6 turbo versus 4-cylinder turbo with those two automobiles as they sweep up toward the carousel. Right behind them, here comes the V12. That's Davy Jones in the older Jaguar, and right behind him, the flat 6 of the Porsche Bob Wallach.
We heard Bob say before the field rolled that he was not going to be too aggressive at the start. To pace himself, this is a long race after all. Right now, he is laying in the 5th position. In fact, we're riding with him. He doesn't want that top 4 to get much further ahead of him. And remember now, this is the old-style 962C Porsche, not the new water-cooled version that the Jim Busby team had planned to debut. That is still in the truck.
Here comes Wallach trying to move in on Davy Jones up there as we watch Davy slide around that keyhole in that white and green 61 Jaguar, the V12, and right behind him, the gold. 67 Porsche 962 of Bob Wallach.
Well,
These automobiles are very hard to drive, Steve. They're very closed cockpit cars, poor ventilation, and the drivers take an enormous G-load through the corners, so they're very tiring cars.
That's right. They just look like fun. The race for 7th, the white 33 car. That's the Pontiac Spice. Costas Lowe's from Monaco. 30 is John Piero Moretti. Now here comes Moretti. In fact, he gets around Costas Lowe's in the 33 car. So the number 30 Porsche of Moretti is now in the 7th position and pulling away.
Sheer case of out-braking Costas Lowe's at the end of that straightaway as we watch Moretti, who's a veteran of this kind of competition, hold on to that 7th spot. And you'll notice, too, that Costas Lowe's was challenged by Bob Earl in the yellow Spice automobile for his position. So we go back to the race for 2nd spot, and look at this. Olsen dives underneath Lammers to take it over at the end of the front straightaway. Great and very aggressive move by Drake Olsen, the young driver in that 98 Dan Gurney Toyota.
This is only the 2nd outing, let's remember, for the V6 Jaguar. You really don't know how comfortable yet Jan Lammers and his fellow co-drivers are in that car. I don't think he wanted to take any chance of making contact there. He gave Drake Olsen the white berth.
Well, it was a good, strong, and aggressive move as we watched Drake Olsen move around the 40 light car of Dickie Luttweiler. He's sitting back 16th overall. He's actually 5th in his class, GT Lights. As we watch Olsen hard brake at the end of the front straightaway and move around the 63 light car of Howard Katz. He's in 15th and 4th in the light class, Steve.
But Drake Olsen, the 98 Toyota, after making the pass, has now put 9-10 car lengths between himself and the number 60 Jaguar of Jan Lammers. Olsen has either got a lot of power or the Jaguar's baiting a bit.
Well, he may just be, it's a long race, he may just be pacing the car. Remember, it's brand new. Only the 2nd time out for this V6 turbocharged Jag. So he will probably move up, I would imagine, as the race kind of settles in. Or at least he's going to try. There's the 9 automobile, the blue Buick Spice of Charles Morgan that we watched earlier give us that terrific ride around this racetrack. Morgan now sitting 13th overall and 2nd in the light class. So he and his teammate Tom Hessert have been very strong this season in the light category, and I would imagine have high hopes of moving up and taking over the lead from Scott Schubert, who is the man that has been their chief rival in this class, and who, remember Schubert we saw win at West Palm Beach. He's a current leader and also a Buick Spice car, Steve.
Well, Charles Morgan has Schubert just about in sight. There is Schubert running in the lead in GT Lights, the 4L car. That also is a Buick Spice. And right back there in the 2nd spot, well, we're riding with Charles Morgan. He's staying right in there.
Well, we might just get a peek of that yellow automobile as Schubert's up ahead. No, not right now. Schubert's kind of moved out of sight of Morgan. Morgan got a clear racetrack ahead of him, though. And look at this. We've got trouble here. Bob Earl in that Corvette-powered Spice is off the racetrack in turn number 2, apparently finished for the day.
Well, it doesn't appear that he had any Armco there. The car is still in one piece. It's just a simple matter of the engine is not running. Bob Earl, the first casualty of the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. Stay with us.
Brought to you by Nissan, built for the human race.
Once again, the last letter of the alphabet is the last word in sports cars. The new Z from Nissan.
You got a problem, son. You're sounding old and tired. You're thinking the worst, but it's only your wires. Come on, back, orange and ugly. That's right. Back, orange and ugly. I don't like. You got those skinny mini wires, loose and leaking juice through the cracks. Well, we ain't ugly for nothing, see? Ugly keeps us tight. That makes us last. Back, orange and ugly. We are. We are orange and ugly. Yeah.
Hit the road, Jack, and if you don't like them, we'll buy them back. We'll buy them back. Hit the road, Jack.
Road Handler Treadlock radials. Test them yourself for 1,000 miles. If you don't agree they're the toughest, best handling performance tires you've ever owned, Sears will buy them back.
Hit the road, Jack, and if you don't like them, we'll buy them back. We'll buy them back. Hit the road, Jack.
Road Handler Treadlocks at Sears. Tough tires you can trust.
What you say?
The Honda lawnmower. It was first with a convenient blade brake clutch, with an automotive-type shaft drive, with an easy-starting overhead valve engine. It's the first mower good enough to be a Honda.
Catch the winners on television's only series devoted exclusively to NASCAR competition. Ned Jarrett and Steve Burns bring you race highlights, interviews, and features on Inside Winston Cup Racing. Sports Sundays on TNN.
You're looking over the shoulder of GT light driver Charles Morgan, currently sitting in 12th spot in his Buick Power Spice here in the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. Jeff Brabham leads it, Greg Olson in the Toyota second, Lammers and Davy Jones in third and fourth, and Jaguars and Bob Wallach in the Porsche in fifth spot. Steve?
In the sixth position is Fangio, the other Toyota, Moretti in a Porsche, Costas Loos, the Pontiac Spice, Bill Noob in the Corvette, and Jim Adams in yet another 962 Porsche.
A bunch of automobiles, 4 or 5 different types, as we watch Jeff Brabham, the leader in that red, white, and blue number 83 Nissan, move in on Charles Morgan in our camera car. Now, this is a light car versus the bigger prototype. It'll give you an idea of the speed differential of these two automobiles. Look at Brabham blast by. Now, that's a turbocharged, probably 800 horsepower automobile, and against a normally aspirated engine of probably half that power. That'll give you an idea of what turbocharging will do for you in a race car.
Well, Costas Loos in the white 33 car has not forgotten that Giampiero Moretti got by him in that Porsche, the red machine here. This is the fight for 7th position. Costas Loos just hanging right there. Nobody's in any big hurry at this point in the race, Brock. You don't want to lose a lot of time, but it's not to the point yet you have to get too aggressive and try to make up a pass.
So, Costas Loos continues to dog Moretti as they sweep around this big racetrack. Back in the pits, that's an IMSA official talking to Bob Earl's crew as his co-driver Jim Miller listens in. He apparently has gotten back underway and now is struggling around the racetrack. Yes, Bob Earl in that yellow 64, he stalled at turn number 2, but now he's starting to get underway. Obviously not to racing speed, but maybe trying to make his way back around the racetrack. Let's go down to the pits with Steve Evans in the Bob Earl pit.
Just what's going on with Bob?
We just had some kind of an electrical problem.
And either he cured it in the cockpit or it cured itself.
Yeah, we sent a couple of guys down to coach him on it, and he's got it going again.
Good mechanic as well as a driver.
That's right.
Okay, that's the story, Brock.
Oh, Steve, I'm sure that that's just going to erase any chances for a high finish for Bob Earl and Jim Miller in that automobile, even if they get it running again. Meanwhile, back to racing for the 16th spot here. Those two automobiles, the 79 of DeLessep's and the 01 of Ken Nutt, they are fighting for the 6th and 7th spots overall in the light division. And identical cars, basically sister automobiles, both Spice chassis, English built, with Pontiac Firebird V6 engines on board.
And you know, Brock, there's more and more Europeans coming over to drive American-built light cars like these. Ferdinand DeLessep's in the 79 car. I don't think he's from Swanee, Georgia.
That's what the entry blank says, but I think he's from Paris, France. And I would seriously doubt if he's ever been to Georgia, other than a race maybe in Road Atlanta. As we watch Juan Manuel Fangio, the second, currently in the 6th spot in the second Toyota, move in on these two guys. Fangio, of course, perhaps the greatest name in racing. His uncle was the 5-time world champion, and many people believe the greatest racing driver of all time. I'm sure some people that debate that, but it's hard to debate the skill that Juan Manuel Fangio brought to motor racing.
And I would tell you that Dan Gurney, who, of course, is the captain of this Toyota team, is very pleased with the progress of young Mr. Fangio. Feels that he may have some of the talents of his uncle.
Oh, boy. If he had just a little bit of it, he'd be a champion. Jan Lammers currently in the 4th spot, has fallen back a little bit in that turbocharged V6 Jaguar that started on the outside of the front row. But he may be pacing himself a little bit as we watch Bob Wallach move in on him. There's Wallach down the back straightaway. That flat-out little right-handed kink in the middle of the straight is really not a corner. They call it turn 5, but it's hardly a corner. As Lammers hard brakes and goes into that right-hander up into the S's. He, remember now, finished second at Lime Rock in the debut of this automobile. As we watch Wallach chasing, he seems to be moving in a little bit on Jan as they head down toward the back part of this racetrack, the twisty part. Earlier, Steve had a look at this exceptional new automobile.
James Bond would be proud of his countrymen racing their Jaguars here in the colonies, because the secrecy around this new XJR10 race car has been simply amazing. If it's not in line waiting to go out on the racetrack, it is locked away in the garage. And only the mechanics themselves have seen this car with the engine hatch removed. We can tell you it is a purpose-built racing engine. It's a V6, 4 valves per cylinder, 2 turbochargers, and it's 3 liters in size. And it's much more compact than the 12-cylinder engine, which is also here in the 61 car. Notice the improved line here over the V12. They're not fighting that high air intake. And also, it's a much shorter engine, so they can do some things aerodynamically back here, including create some fender wells that probably will improve the aerodynamic performance. Now, we all love the sound of that normally aspirated V12, but when this car is sorted out, I have a feeling that will be a thing of the past.
You notice, too, that it's got skirts on it, old-time fender skirts to improve the aerodynamics on the sides of that automobile. As we watch Lammers, there is Bob Wallach continuing to chase him for that 4th spot.
One thing the new Jaguar also has, Brock, that the V12 does not, and that's a lower center of gravity, much like the Porsche Wallach is in. That can only help.
Bob Wallach, Strasbourg, France. Multi-winner in all kinds of great endurance races, including Le Mans, considered by many people to be the finest driver in this type of competition in the world. And remember, we saw him win at West Palm Beach with John Andretti. Uh-oh, trouble for Jacques Villeneuve in our Peerless camera car. That Corvette-powered automobile has made a stop, and it's an unexpected one.
That's right. This is way too early for that car to be in. He's getting his windshield washed while the crew tries to figure out exactly what is wrong with the automobile. Jacques Villeneuve, whose co-driver is Scott Goodyear, not good news for that team. Here again is Bob Wallach, a very emotional driver, Brock, and he now is not facing himself any longer, doesn't look like.
No, he's starting to charge. Up ahead, he sees Lammers in that number 60 Jaguar, the turbo car you just had a look at, and he is starting to move in on him now. He was about 10 or 12 car lengths back a while ago, but now he's tucked in as they sweep around that keyhole, that 180-degree corner leading onto the back straightaway. Let's see what kind of power differentials we have here. Lammers seems to be able to hold him up, but don't forget he's fallen back 2 positions since the start. That has the Jaguar team concerned. That is team manager Tony Dow conferring there. Perhaps Steve can get in and find out what's going on.
Tony, there appears to be some concern over the 60 car, the Lammers car.
Yeah, I guess. He said he's had a sticking throttle on a couple of occasions, and he's got a long brake pedal. And we're just, seeing where it's going, but he's just done a reasonably quick lap time, so there doesn't appear to be too much wrong with it.
So he will probably stay out unless it gets worse?
Yeah, he will.
Thank you, Tony.
So some concern, but not apparently a major disaster in the making for the Jaguar team. As we look at Bob Wallach was now tucked right in behind that number 60 Jaguar of Jan Lammers as they head down the front straightaway. They sweep around a lap car. That slows them up a little bit. They should be running considerably faster on the little short chute. They'll also run nearly double that speed down the back straightaway.
Well, here's the story on the Corvette car. Jacques Villeneuve is taking it to the garage. The 76 machine is out of this contest. And, of course, that's a huge disappointment to his co-driver as well from Canada, Scott Goodyear. Scott trying to make an impression in the States and move up in the ranks of motor racing to make a career out of it. He won't even wear his helmet today. But look at this. Here's a couple of helmets with a mission. Jan Lammers trying to stave off Bob Wallach in the Porsche. Lammers reported to have a sticking throttle and bad brakes. That's a lousy combination, and may be part of the reason why Wallach makes the pass. Wallach has now moved into that 4th spot ahead of the Jaguar and in the pits for a planned stop. This is the 30 Porsche. Jean-Pierre Moretti is out of the car. His co-driver Stanley Dickens is buckling up as the crew changes rubber, washes the windshield, and here in the Jaguar pits is John Nielsen, apparently getting ready to do some relief work in the 61 Jaguar. Brock is in the garage area.
Well, Steve, as Jacques Villeneuve takes off his fireproof helmet and sock, Jacques, did it go right away, or do you have any warning?
No warning. It just quit in turn, I think, 12-11, the left-hander. The suddenly quit. I thought it was out of gas first, but I guess the guy told me it was just smoking.
So yeah, I noticed they pulled the hood off, but they couldn't find the trouble?
Yes, they couldn't find it. I guess I was told it was a blown head gasket, something like that.
We're sorry you're out. Good job anyway.
Thank you.
Okay. Jacques Villeneuve out for the day.
Out for the day with apparent motor problems. Well, back in the pits of the leader, the number 83 Nissan camp, they're cooking up some more tires for Jeff Brabham, and that probably means he'll be in soon.
If you love cars, you'll love...
This is the Marion, Ohio home of the 29th President of the United States, Warren G. Harding, whose star-crossed administration, you'll recall, nearly ended with a Teapot Dome scandal. Warren lived here from 1891 to 1921, but right now, a few miles down the road in Lexington, Ohio, the Nissan Grand Prix continues with its struggle for second place between the 98 Toyota of Drake Olson and the 61 Jaguar of Davy Jones, two of the finest young drivers in America, both great prospects as they go at it for second place here. Here we see them moving in on Juan Manuel Fangio, the 99 car, a teammate of Olson's, and Costas Los in the 33 Pontiac Spice. They're both a lap down fighting for the 5th spot. Now, as pit stops are coming up here for the leaders, let's go to Steve, who earlier had a look at how they'll do the tire changes on the 98 car.
One of the first little things that Dan Gurney's crack All-American Racers crew discovered on the Group C Toyota when it arrived at their Santa Ana, California shop from overseas was that obviously the Group C competitors aren't concerned about fast tire changes. It takes 90 seconds just to fuel the car. So here's how the wheel is engineered. Okay, that has to be out to mount the tire for Goodyear to do their job. Then you put this wheel center thing in, slip it on, and put a nut on it. But with all of these loose parts flying around, you couldn't do it at IMSA. It just wouldn't work. It'd take you forever. So here's what they did. Look at this. They came up with this unique little arrow-shaped plate that's held on with a couple of Allen screws and a pin. When they want to change tires, they pull the pin, this slides out, and Goodyear can do their job. But this is how it is on the race car. Now, that slides onto the axle. There's no loose parts. And then this pin goes through the axle to hold the nut on. Well, most people use a nut like that. Well, they found out that that nut kept slipping out of the chuck on the air gun. So they machined a little groove in it and put an O-ring for a nice snug fit. These are crafty guys, and they do very quick pit stops. They think about it a lot, obviously.
Well, I'll tell you, Dan Gurney's All-American Racers have been doing it for 20-odd years in Formula One and this kind of racing in Indianapolis, so they ought to know how. As we watch the 99 car of Fangio now seemingly holding up Davy Jones in the 61. Drake Olson got by him a little earlier. Here comes the 60 car of Lammers into the pits.
This is the first pit stop for the new V6 Jaguar as the English crew goes to work on it. Lammers apparently is going to stay in, Brock. He's making no movement at all.
Well, this will help because the slowest part of a pit stop in this kind of competition generally is making a driver change. As we watch the crew, finally the windshield being cleaned up. Here comes Wallach in the 67. I wonder if his teammate John Andretti will take over for him.
I believe he will, Brock. That was the battle plan they had discussed. Yes, there is the helmeted Andretti. Out comes Wallach.
Both about the same size drivers, which helps an awful lot. When you get a big guy and a little guy trying to change, it takes more time. They got to readjust the seat belts, etc. Bob and John are about the same size.
And still in the pits is Jan Lammers in the 60 Jaguar, and they're having a problem, apparently, Brock, with the nut on the right rear of that car in the 67 pits. It is Wallach out, Andretti in, and he got in just in the nick of time, Brock, because the crew was done and slammed the door.
Terrific pit stop on the part of the Busby team as John Andretti, one of the finest young guys in the business, gets underway. But still, the Lammers car is in the pits. They have apparently completed the stop as we watch John Andretti just power up toward the keyhole here in mid-Ohio. Driving hard, now in the 4th position after that great pit stop.
Finally, Lammers comes out of the pits. Boy, that was a disaster for the usually very quick, very efficient British team, and it was a right rear wheel nut. Apparently got cross-threaded somehow on the axle.
Look, Steve, you'll notice they did not put the skirt on the right rear of that automobile. It's on the left side, but not on the right side, so they obviously lost a whole lot of time. Here's the race for 5th. That's Costas Los right behind Fangio, the 99 Toyota. That's a new car, surprisingly not quite as developed as the old WEC car that Olson now has in the 2nd spot. All right, there's some speed. 129 for Fangio, 136 for Costas Los after no traffic in their way, so they just squirt down that little short chute with a real burst of speed. So there are those two guys going at it for the 5th spot. So far, Fangio able to hold off Costas Los, but not by much. Around the keyhole, down onto the back straightaway. There they'll hit nearly 190 miles an hour, I would imagine, as we watch the 99 get away a little bit. And now, let's go down to Steve again to the Jaguar pits.
Tony, what appeared to be a typically perfect Jaguar pit stop suddenly went terribly awry on the right rear.
I think a wheel nut picked up, steel on steel, and just one of those things, you know, when you're trying to hustle something, it'll always go wrong for you.
Now, they were unable to get the spat or the wheel cover back on that car. How does that disturb it aerodynamically?
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's something that you try during practice to see whether it helps or not. Yes, it's marginally better, but it doesn't really affect it in racing conditions. If we lost both rears, then it would be a problem.
Thanks for your time.
One would think maybe, Tony, that he'd get a little bit of an odd aerodynamic effect with one on and one off, but I'm sure he knows more about it than we do, Steve. In the meantime, though, they're getting ready for yet another stop. Apparently, Davy Jones, there's the tire warmer on that in the Jaguar pits. There's the 61 car of Davy, the V12, the conventionally, the old Jaguar, the traditional Jaguar, trying to get around the 01 car of Ken Knott. That's a lap car. There's John Nielsen from West Germany getting ready to take over for Davy. He's doing a little wig-wag signaling to move Davy into the pits.
And, you know, a lot of people, Brock, feel that Jaguar took the production V12 passenger car engine and made a racing engine out of it. Actually, it was designed in the late 60s, early 70s as a racing power plant that made it into the production line.
Right. And the same with the V6. That's been around for a while, too. Apparently started out as a rally car engine, Group B engine in the early 80s, and then was adopted for this kind of competition. John Nielsen, the veteran driver from West Germany, takes over for Davy Jones, and it looks like a pretty quick stop this time for Jaguar, Steve.
Oh, yeah, they have redeemed themselves here with the 61 car. Of course, they're very familiar with that machine. I mean, they won the 24 Hours of Daytona 2 years ago with it. They ought to know how to make a pit stop.
And, of course, they won Le Mans last year with a very similar car. So we watch, once again, Costas, Lowe's, and Fangio going at it, still in that fifth spot. They're trying to get around a lap car. That's DeLessep's in the 79, and here's trouble. Ken Knott in the sixth spot at GT Light spins off and hits the fence on the backside of this racetrack. He's up against the wall, and I'm sure out of it, as we watch Fangio and Lowe still going at it. No yellow on the racetrack, so they apparently will be able to clear the Knott car away without big problem. And look at this. Costas Lowe's tried to get around Fangio on the high side, going down the pit straightaway. What a gutsy play on his part, but it didn't work. And in fact, they made him fall back a little bit. He lost a little speed and fell back maybe a couple of car lengths. But it was a brave try anyway.
Well, Costas Lowe's is starting to show a lot of bravado in this race car, and it's a nice machine he's in. The lightweight English-built Spice car, the Pontiac V8 built by Ed Peg in California. And how about this? He just says, move over, Juan, I'm coming through, pal.
Oh, boy. What an aggressive move on the part of Costas Lowe's as he shoves his way past the 99 Toyota of Juan Manuel Fangio II. And we'll be back right after this with more of the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans back in mid-Ohio, where you'll recall Juan Manuel Fangio got bunted off the course by Costas Lowe's. He is in the pits for repairs, and Steve Evans is down with him.
Well, the motor has been turned off on the 99 Toyota. One of the crewmen hollering for tape at the rear of the vehicle. The nose has come off the car, as apparently they're checking for any damage there after the encounter with the 33 car. Willie T. Ribbs is down here in the pit with his helmet on, but does not appear to be going into the car as Fangio keeps the door locked. I don't believe Willie was intended to go in now. Anyway, he's just standing by in case he's needed. In fact, he's taking some water to his teammate here. So that's what's going on in the pit of 99.
Well, there is a long stop in store, I'm afraid, Steve, as we watch Willie T. Ribbs hand his teammate a glass of water, but there's going to be plenty of time, I think, to drink it before they get restarted.
And here's what happened. Watch a 33 car on the inside, passing for position. Right there. You know, that was not major contact, Brock. Shouldn't have done a lot of damage. What did the damage was getting off the course?
Yeah, I think he probably hooked that curb, and it appeared to be the damage was on the other side of the automobile in the left front corner. Here comes the leader, Jeff Brabham, in the 83 Nissan into the pits. A routine scheduled stop. I wonder if we'll get a driver change from his co-driver, Chip Robinson.
Normally in a race of this distance, that is the plan. And there is Robinson helping extract Jeff Brabham. And again, two guys of similar size, so nobody has a big seat spacer to unplug. And you know what? This man, Drake Olson in the 98 Toyota, he could take the lead here if he gets by the stripe before Chip Robinson gets out of the 83 car. I tell you, this Nissan team of Dan Devendorf is so good. They do everything but completely detail the car before it goes back out, and they do it in a matter of seconds. Well, I'll tell you, endurance pit stops don't get a lot better than that. Chip Robinson in the 83 car will exit the pits, maintaining the lead that Jeff Brabham had established. A terrific job. Chip Robinson, I'm sure, will drive to the next stop. Brabham will get back in. That's usually the way things go. And here is that amazing little 33 car in. Costas Loos has scampered out of the car. His co-driver, Jeff Klein, will take over the controls. And from what we have seen with Costas Loos, Jeff Klein is inheriting a very fine little race car with a chance of a good finish here at the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. Well, right now, let's go down to the Nissan pits where Brock Yates is with the man who has dominated this race so far.
Steve, I'm with Jeff Brabham, who just about a textbook drive. I would imagine he couldn't ask for a whole lot more than that.
No, not really. The Nissan's really handling nice. I mean, I got a nice balance out there. The track's fairly slippery, and I'm using a lot of racetrack, but it's not one end or the other, so I'm really happy where the car's going.
Whereabouts is it slickest, Jeff?
It's really everywhere. You know, the track's pretty slippery, and you just kind of slide a lot, but because my car's sliding equally, it's pretty good out there.
Fantastic drive. Now, are you going to take it again at the end from Chip, or will he carry on?
The plan is that unless yellows kind of mess things up, but you know, right now things are going pretty well for us.
Perfect. Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, drivers who have to follow that Nissan when they can will tell you it doesn't look like it slips around on the course very much to them. Handles more like an Indy car. All right, here we are again in the 9 light car. This is Charles Morgan. He is second in GT light right now, exactly where he started. Leading the class is the 4L car of Scott Schubot. In fact, Schubot right now is in the pit area. And you just saw a flash of blue on the pit straight. Well, that was 9L Charles Morgan taking our camera into the lead, Brock.
And he has yet to stop, Steve, so we'll see how far he can get out in front of his arch rival, Scott Schubach. These two guys dominate this kind of competition as Schubach gets underway. He still holds on to the second position, but he has taken on fuel. Morgan has not. So we watch Charles Morgan head down the back straightaway here at Mid-Ohio, probably up to about 170 miles an hour as he heads through that little kink down toward the right-hander at the end. We're back in the Toyota pits for a stop on the 98 car.
That's right. Drake Olson, who was running second with the 98 car, is out of the machine. He's saying, come on, hurry up, to Chris Court. Now, this is a situation where one driver is considerably taller than the other, and it can take longer to execute that change. Drake Olson out, Chris Court in. We'll be back.
This beautiful estate is in Mansfield, Ohio, just down the road from the racetrack. It's called Kingwood Center, and it is a beautiful garden area that attracts a whole bunch of people, including 4 young kids who watch the fountains work. Meanwhile, back at the racetrack, though, we have had a tightening of this contest by a considerable margin, Steve Evans.
And a lot of that has been due to the pit stops. But right now, there are 3 drivers battling for the lead. Chip Robinson in the Nissan, the 83 car. John Nielsen in the 61 Jaguar, and John Andretti in the Porsche.
Chris Cord sits in the Toyota in the 4th spot. Lammers has fallen all the way back to 6th in the turbocharged Jaguar. Dickens in the Porsche, and the Moretti Porsches in 7th. And the 10th spot is Juan Manuel Fangio in the 2nd Team Toyota.
Right here is a man, John Andretti, who right now is in that 3rd position. And he can see not only 2nd, but 1st as well. And that's a rarity these days in endurance racing.
Well, it is, Steve, as the pit stops definitely tighten things up. And I'll tell you what, this young man can drive a race car. He is the nephew of Mario Andretti. Aldo is his dad, Mario's fraternal twin brother. And boy, John Andretti is a future star, I'll flat guarantee you. And speaking of future stars, a lot of people have their eyes on this young man, Chip Robinson, who just took over for Jeff Brabham and continues to lead in the Nissan, doing a fine job. Chip, a former champion in this series, along with Al Hobart in the Porsche. 125 miles an hour for that Nissan. It squirts down this little short straightaway in front of the pits and continues to lead. Heading down toward the keyhole. Right behind him, of course, is the John Nielsen-driven Jaguar, the V12. Remember that he took over for the man who started the car, Davy Jones. Who's with Steve?
Does a normally aspirated car enjoy still any kind of fuel economy advantage, or has that gone away?
Well, I think it has a lot of advantage around. The engine is heavy for one, but when we can get the car working well and places where we don't run a lot of downforce in the car, it can be competitive. But on this short stuff where the restrictor from IMSA, it's restricted down so much, so the boost comes really good now coming off the corners, and they're quick, down the straightaway.
Will you get back in?
I might get back in the turbo car. I don't know yet. So
ooh, that could be fun.
A bit of a change there.
Good luck, Davey.
So some driver movement here, some tactics being laid out by the Jaguar team as we watch the race for fifth. 33, Jeff Klein, that's the Costa Slows car. Lammers in the 60 Turbo Jag, and the 30 car is Stanley Dickens right in front of him. He's a couple of laps down as we watch Klein move in on him and probably try to make a pass at the end of the straightaway. But look at Lammers on the inside. He's got the line at the end of that straightaway and will retake that position from Jeff Klein.
And let's remember that Lammers has more laps on himself in this race than any of these other drivers. Lammers did not get out of the car on the pit stop. Chip Robinson is fresh. Jeff Klein is fresh. Just about everybody out there, including John Andretti, but not Lammers. He's out there just sweating it out.
Well, he's a tough young man. Has some Formula One experience, has driven a lot of different kinds of cars, and is a tough, well-conditioned driver. As we watch him try to move around that number 30 car, the Porsche 962 of Stanley Dickens, around through that big sweeper that they call the carousel here in Mid-Ohio, down off that corner, and he's moved right in behind him now.
Well, speaking of trying to move right in behind somebody, how about John Andretti in the 67 gold 962 Porsche? He is trying to sneak up on that man, John Nielsen, in the V12 Jaguar, and here he comes.
Through the keyhole, we'll see they're going to be a drag race in just a second or so. Some smoke out of the Andretti car, but I don't think it's any major problem. Here they come down the long straightaway where they'll just run them as hard as they can. And look at the V12 seems to be able to pull John a little bit down through that part of the racetrack. We'll see how they work here as they get all over the brakes into that right-hander at the end of the straightaway. Nielsen continuing to hold on to second spot, but Andretti now in the twisty stuff seems to be able to close in a little bit.
Two very tried and proven race cars. And here into the pits finally comes Charles Morgan, leading in the blue 9L car, the V6 Buick Spice. He's taking on tires all the way around, fuel, and there is his co-driver, Tom Hessert, getting in.
Tom going to put that little cushion in there. He's a little bit smaller in stature than Morgan, who's a big man. And now Tom climbs on board. But it's payback time for Scott Schubert. Remember, he lost the lead in the pits, but he retakes it now as he heads down into turn number 1 as the pit stop continues on the Morgan Hessert car. So Scott Schubert back in the lead in the light category. Meanwhile, down along pit lane, we see the 60 Jaguar, the turbo car, into the pits, but this time Lammers is out of it, and he has been replaced, as he said, by Davy Jones. Davy Jones will now take this automobile, which has been struggling a bit all afternoon, back onto the racetrack for what I would imagine to be kind of a test drive. These guys trying to work the kinks out of this car. They had a great finish with it first time out, but they've had problems with the automobile so far this afternoon. So Davy Jones back underway in that V6 Turbo Jag. In the meantime, let's go down to the pits. That's Charles Morgan with Steve.
Boy, what a job this man has done. Not only has the performance been there, but the mileage.
Yeah, I'm amazed. We got a lot better fuel mileage than we've been getting in practice. I think we went to a lower downforce setting during the race, and
less drag.
A little bit less drag, and consequently got a little bit better mileage during the race.
Now, if your plan was to try to put as much distance between you and the second place car as you could before you pitted, well, it didn't quite work. You got the lead while you were sitting here.
Right. Well, we were. I couldn't go much harder than I was going, so we picked up, I think, 34 seconds, but it's hard to get in and out of a pit and do a pit stop in any time like that.
Now, obviously, to me anyway, you've got enough fuel to go to the distance. Do you leave Tom Hessert in the car the rest of the race or what?
Yes. Tom will be in the car the rest of the race. He's a good finisher. He'll do well. So I think we still have a good shot at it.
We'll be watching. Good luck.
Okay, Charlie Morgan, always a contender in the light category. As we've got a car stopped, that is the 60 Jaguar of Davy Jones. He just got underway, and he stalled on the back part of the course, and that is a very difficult position.
And a dangerous one in turn 10. In the pits, Chris Cordes brought the 98 Toyota in. Apparently, Drake Olson had all the R&R he needed and is going to get back into that car to finish this 500-kilometer event. So Chris Cord out of the machine. Drake Olson is in. The doors are snapped shut down off the air track. The headlights are on, and the car stalled. He has lost power. He's grinding on the starter. Here comes the crew to try to bump start it, and they get run off by a flash of fire. And finally, the machine is underway, but Brock, it is still on fire.
A big fire burst out around the right rear tire, and Drake Olson on pit road at the exit of the pits drives off into the grass. The engine is blossoming in fire as the door flips open. Olson trying to unbuckle himself. Here comes a fire extinguisher, but the Toyota is aflame big time.
Drake Olson, I'm sure, Brock, in his location had no idea he was on fire until probably the heat just got so excessive in the cockpit. He said, wait a minute, something's going on here. And look at the cloud of fire extinguisher material, and it appears to have done the job.
No, it flares up again on the right side. That was where the fire seemed to start to begin with, so the workers come in with the CO2 bottles and get it this time. But boy, that is one damaged race car. We've got a full course caution while they try to clean up this mess. We're back in Mid-Ohio for the Nissan Grand Prix, and this is how the fire started in Drake Olson's number 98 Toyota. There you see, he stalled on pit lane after taking over from Chris Cord, and the fire blossoms out, apparently out of the turbocharger. The crew pauses for a moment, then apparently thinking that it was just a temporary condition, move in to re-push Olson to get back underway. Well, that wasn't the case at all, because the fire was serious. He only got a few yards around the corner, and this happened. The fire all over the backside of the race car. Olson struggling to get out of the automobile, obviously alarmed about the whole thing as he quickly exits. And now let's go to Steve, who's with crew chief Gary Donahue.
Any idea? We saw a ball of fire as they attempted to restart it there. What do you think all that was?
Not quite sure. It died. It coughed back through the blower and, set something off. I'm not sure what it was.
Okay, sorry to see the car out and having those problems, but it's all repairable stuff, I'm sure, Brock.
Thankfully, Drake Olson okay after that close call. We've got a race in the pits now. That is the lead automobile, the 83 car. John Andretti comes in as well. There will be driver changes with both these automobiles. There's Wallach climbing back in and replacing John Andretti. Robinson is out. Brabham is in. They're getting ready to go. But further down the pits, we've got the Jaguar in as well. So the three lead automobiles are currently in the pits. But look at this. Price Cobb has taken over for Nielsen. He'll beat him out of the pit and take the lead. So the V12 Jaguar now out first and in the lead.
But Brock, you'd have to say it was the almost military precision of the Jaguar crew that put Price Cobb out here in the lead. There was a little bit of a bobble in the Nissan stop. I'm not sure what it was. It was not as smooth as the first one.
Well, they've fallen back to third place because Wallach takes over and gets out in second. So Jeff Brabham has his work cut out for him. After dominating this race, they have now fallen back to third, and we will see how much power that 83 car really has. And now let's go down to the Jaguar pits, where Steve is with John Nielsen, who, with Price Cobb, has his car in the lead.
Racing can take some funny turns, as you well know sometimes, John. The car is in the lead. There's the third driver in it now. What an afternoon.
Yeah, well, Price Cobb and I, we didn't start the race because we have good points, and therefore it would be too dangerous. If one car dropped out, we wouldn't get points. So therefore Price is in the car now. David Jones started, I was second, and Price is in now. The car at the moment is running quite well, although we have some understeer problem. Whether Price will be able to solve it or not, I don't know, but let's hope.
One thing we do know, Price Cobb is a strong finisher.
Definitely, yes.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So the Jaguar team not only worried about the victory, but the season and driving championship. There is John Andretti with his dad, Aldo. He is out of the automobile after helping to put that car into second place. We continue under caution here as the Drake Olson Toyota gets cleaned up. But we'll be back for a restart at the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio right after this.
The caution brought out by the flaming Toyota is still under effect here at Mid-Ohio. Price Cobb is on the point for the restart. He, of course, in the V12 Jaguar. Bob Wallach in the Porsche right behind him. And then Jeff Brabham, who is now, in fact, the only time during this race we've seen the Nissan car out of the lead, Brock.
Steve, we've got 5 different makes of automobile in the top 5 positions, which indicates the interesting variety that we have in this kind of competition. That is Bob Wallach. You're looking over his shoulder as we get ready for a restart. Between him and the leader, Price Cobb, are 2 lap cars, light car and the 99 Toyota, now driven by Willie T. Ribbs. As we see Price Cobb come off the final corner, the green is out. We're back racing. But the big challenge, Steve, is for Bob Wallach to get by those 2 slower automobiles and move in. Here he comes. And right behind him is Jeff Brabham. So we've got a serious race on here. The 83 automobile, clearly the fastest car on the racetrack, at least up till now. Trying to, first of all, he's got to get by that gold and white automobile right here of Bob Wallach as he sweeps around the keyhole. Let's see what they'll do down the back straightaway. We'll see if that vaunted Nissan Power can work on that older Porsche engine.
Well, they appear to be fairly evenly matched as far as raw speed is concerned, Brock. Of course, where the Nissan has enjoyed the advantage in qualifying and in the race has been in the turns where that car just sticks like no other. And here you can see really how quick the steering is on this 962 Porsche as Bob Wallach uses almost body language to ease it through the turns.
Just a little flick of the wheel as they come down off the S's, and Brabham has pulled into within about 3 car lengths of that Porsche. Here is Wallach charging hard on the back part of this racetrack. Up ahead of him is the 99 automobile. That is the Willie T. Ribbs Toyota as they sweep up toward this carousel, the most difficult corner on the racetrack.
You know, we detected just another wisp of smoke out of the 67 car, the Wallach machine. Doesn't appear to be slowing him down.
There's Wallach right in behind the 99 Toyota as Willie T. Ribbs just smokes it off the corner using all that turbo power. 134 miles an hour trap speed on this. About 8-mile straightaway in front of the pit. Here are the 2 contenders. The second place 67 car, Bob Wallach, right behind him, Jeff Brabham. The man holding him up right now is the 99 car of Willie T. Ribbs, driving as hard as he can, but I would imagine he'll get taken on this straightaway coming up.
And there again is some smoke out of the rear of the Bob Wallach car, running second behind the lap car of Willie T. Ribbs. Willie out there really doing testing and laboratory work on the AAR Toyota, trying to get it competitive. And here is Bob Wallach at the end of the longest straight. Can he get Willie under braking? No!
Willie shuts the door on him. Willie driving it hard up through that little S-bend, the S's here, down toward that right-hander. Wallach, of course, facing the challenge. More smoke from right behind him. Jeff Brabham obviously trying to move by both these automobiles, but at this point cannot do it. Willie T. again shuts the door. Puts Bob Wallach up on the curbing on the inside of that corner. Ribbs obviously knows he's got a leader right behind him, but not about to give way at this particular point.
And that is really the only salvation, I think, for Bob Wallach right now, is he's kind of cornered behind the Toyota of Ribbs, is that he knows that Jeff Brabham is in the same position, and Ribbs disappears because he's going into the pit. Willie T. is bringing in the 99 Toyota. We said again that they're out there right now developing this car more than they are racing. Willie brings it in for the reason hopefully we'll find out. So now Wallach has clear sailing as he tries to chase down the leading Jaguar with behind him Jeff Brabham and maybe the most powerful car on the racetrack right now. Right now, let's go down to the Nissan pits with Brock.
Steve, I'm with Chip Robinson, who just got out of the 83 car and turned it over to Jeff Brabham, and it looks like he's slowed up a bit, Chip. He doesn't seem to be able to run down Bob Wallach, and the car doesn't seem to be quite as strong as it was. Did you notice any problems when you gave it off?
No, the car is as strong as it was, I'm pretty sure, unless there was, if he got a set of tires that maybe wasn't quite right, which I doubt. More likely, we don't have a good top-end speed on the straights, and so it's going to be very, very difficult for him to get by Wallach, and that's probably what's holding him up more than that. If he can get by him, I think he'll be all right.
Well, that interval remains at just about a car length or two. Bob Wallach staying in the second spot. If any car is loose out there, it may be Wallach, judging by our view out of the windshield. Brabham right on his tail. Update on the Ribbs pit stop. He was brought in by IMSA for a 10-second penalty, a stop and go, because on the previous stop, they had too many people over the pit wall. They're enforcing that very strictly.
All right, back to the duel for second place. Brabham right behind the car, this automobile, driven by the veteran Bob Wallach. Up through the keyhole. Wallach appears to be able to hold off Brabham at this point. They move in behind a lap car, the 38 light car of Dick Rose. They'll slide right by him. as here comes Wallach. Brabham moves in on him, probably trying to set him up for a pass at the end of the back straightaway, the fastest part of the race course. Brabham moves on the inside. He's got the line for the hard break at the end of this corner. He takes second place with a beautiful pass, outbreaking Bob Wallach at the end of that probably 190-mile-an-hour straightaway.
Yeah, he certainly did not execute that pass because he's down on power, right?
Well, he used braking, though, not sheer horsepower to get by him. But look at this. One pass, he just whistles. Now he's moving in on Bryce Cobb, the leader. Let's see if he can catch him. We'll be right back at the Nissan Grand Prix at Mid-Ohio.
Well, the wait has certainly been worth it here in the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. I'm Steve Evans along with Brock Yates, and we're in some very exciting closing laps of a 500-kilometer race. Bryce Cobb out front with a venerable V12, normally aspirated Jaguar. Jeff Brabham, as you saw earlier, has just taken over second from Bob Wallach. Wallach, you know, is going to give up. Costas Vos is back in this thing with the Pontiac Spice in the fourth spot.
But I think the race right now is between the lead automobile of Bryce Cobb, as you said earlier, Steve, a fine finisher, a good, strong, young Texas lad with a great future, trying to hold off the transplanted Australian Jeff Brabham as they sweep past 129, 130 miles an hour. That seems to be that speed for these turbocharged automobiles down that little short straightaway in front of the pits. But look at this, Brabham now just slowly nibbling away at Bryce Cobb, moving in on him as they head up into the keyhole. The handling of that Nissan seemingly paying off all the way around this racetrack right now as Bryce Cobb, V12 versus V6 turbo car, down the back straightaway here, and Cobb showing surprising power. Brabham moves in behind him, can't make the pass at this particular point. Up ahead is Tom Hessert in the light automobile. They are sitting in second. He's a co-driver with Charlie Morgan as we watch Bryce Cobb and Jeff Brabham come out of the S's, and Brabham currently being held at bay, but you'll recall too that was the case with Bob Wallach, and then suddenly just burst by him with a giant show of power out of that 83 automobile. There's a little twitch on the part of Brabham as he came off that corner. They both move by Hessert, and Bryce Cobb continues, though, to hold on to the lead here. It's going to be just a race to the finish against the automobile that has dominated competition for almost 2 seasons in IMSA GT prototype racing. Down the front straightaway as we go to Steve Evans in the Jaguar pits.
Well, Tony, certainly we have 2 fine drivers in a real last-ditch shootout. How do you feel about Jaguar's chances?
Oh, I think Brabham will get by. He's got quite a superior car at this moment in time.
But the V12 certainly has been an outstanding performer today.
Yeah, it's done well today, isn't it? We pulled some tricks out of the hat.
Glad that you still drag it along with you.
Yeah, right. It probably mean we still keep the lead in the Drivers' Championship and maybe the manufacturers, but I'm not sure about that.
Well, one thing we can tell with all 10 cameras is Bryce Cobb is giving it everything he has.
Oh, yeah, he's doing very well.
Thank you, John.
I think Tony Dow knows the inevitable, that the normally aspirated V12 simply does not have the power to hold off the Brabham for that long. But so far, though, he's doing a super job. Steve, in fact, right now he's opened out a little bit on Brabham.
But Brabham knows there's 3 laps left, 7.5 miles. He's not going to get in too big a hurry. One car he doesn't have to worry about is the 67 car. Bob Wallach has faded badly. But you know, if Jaguar thought that V12 could handle the Nissan, they wouldn't have spent 10 or 12 million hard-earned bucks building the new car we saw today.
No, definitely. The hope for the future for Jaguar lies in the Turbo V6, which is essentially a similar engine setup to the one that Jeff Brabham carries behind him in that red, white, and blue Nissan as they head down the front straightaway, with Bryce Cobb continuing to hold on by about 5 car lengths. The leader of the light category, Scott Schubert, into the pits, and this is an unscheduled stop, Steve.
And it doesn't look good for Schubert. It, however, does look like a big break for Tom Hessert in the 9L Blue machine. He takes over the lead again, the lead that Charlie Morgan, his co-driver, had earlier. And we understand that car is maybe only on 5 out of its 6 cylinders.
So we got a couple of crippled automobiles in the light category, but look at this, the race for the lead. Jeff Brabham dives inside Bryce Cobb to take the lead. Exactly what he did to get by Bob Wallach earlier. So Jeff Brabham back, putting things sort of back into their normal order here as he goes around a lapped automobile, retaking the lead at the end of the back straightaway from Bryce Cobb. But Cobb stays with him. Cobb won't give up. He's a very tough, very determined driver, and he has not fallen back by any means.
Didn't you get the feeling, though, Brock, that Jeff Brabham was being very cool in the 83 car? A man not in any big hurry, very confident in his own ability, and especially in his equipment, almost like he didn't want to make it look too easy.
Well, Steve, at 27 years old, Jeff Brabham is maturing into a world-class racing driver. Costa slows out of the race. He has parked his Pontiac Spice on the front straightaway off on the grass. That's a corner worker there opening up the door, clearly out of the event. He started in 8th place. This native of Greece, now living in Monaco, on his way to a really pretty good season, and gave that car a fine ride.
I'll say that team has nothing to be ashamed of. And here comes Bob Wallach into the pits. We saw the smoke periodically out of the car, and apparently something has finally let go to the point that the Frenchman brings it in. And you know, he wouldn't bring it in if it was running on 2 cylinders. Wallach could keep trying.
He is disappointed, clearly. He gave it a great ride, got it as high as 2nd, and then this trouble.
And that might be the last time we ever see that particular Jim Busby Porsche. They have the new water-cooled engine, the new chassis. They're very happy with it on the big courses. It needs some modifications for the short courses like this, or shorter courses. There is Jeff Brabham. He is on the next to the last lap in the 83 Nissan automobile, the machine that has forced all these teams to reevaluate their equipment. Porsche to finally abandon the air-cooled 6. Jaguar to go to a turbocharged V6. They're willing to do anything and spend whatever it takes to try to beat that Nissan team. But today and last week at Lime Rock, it appears that the other teams still have a lot of work to do if they're going to stop this man in that car. And who's to say that the Nissan team doesn't have some tricks that they haven't even shown yet? So Jeff Brabham not only is leading this race, but has put a tremendous distance between himself and Bryce Cobb in the 2nd place Jaguar. In fact, here comes the Jaguar. Remember, they were nose to tail? Well, no longer. Bryce Cobb is just trying to hang on to 2nd position for the driver point. Let's go to Brock with Bob Wallach.
What happened? Of course, the obvious question as well.
Well, first of all, that's racing. Of course, I'm not very happy, but, you know, we were running 3rd, and it was looking good. I wasn't able to catch the Jaguar, nor the Nissan, of course. But the gearbox failed.
Well, it was a great drive as far as it went. We're sorry,
I think it was a good race, and I hope everybody enjoyed it.
I'm sure they did. Thank you, Bob.
Nice to see a world-famous international motor racer have some genuine concern about the fans of the sport. What a super guy. And what a super driver is the man at the wheel of this 83 car, Jeff Brabham. Unless the motor literally falls out, he's going to win this thing, Brock.
Yeah, he's opened up a big lead on this man, the 2nd place car of Bryce Cobb, the Jaguar, as he comes off the final corner. The checker is out. He is the winner. Jeff Brabham comes back from 3rd place after that rather slow pit stop. A terrific recovery for this man, and goes on to win here in the Nissan Grand Prix, and appropriately enough, a Nissan. Jeff Brabham, the helmet off, getting to be a habit here, and a happy one. Congratulations, first of all. Excellent drive.
Well, thanks. The car was just perfect the whole race, you know, and I was really good coming onto the straight, and I think I had the best brakes and everybody, and that allowed me to get past everyone, and, you know, it was a good race there at the end. I really enjoyed it.
Jeff, you hung back a little bit on Bob Wallach, and then just finally burst by him. Was it just a question of straightaway speed?
A little bit. You know, Bob was trying really hard, and this is a really hard place to get past anybody. I mean, I was trying all the time to get past him, and I think he got a little balk coming onto the straight and allowed me to tuck right up underneath him, and I was able to outbrake him at the end. But the Nissan just ran great, and the guys just did a tremendous job again.
Well, again, congratulations. You and Chip Robinson, super work.
Okay, thanks.
Brakes, power, handling, well, that team had it all today. Bryce Cobb, I don't think he'll be too disappointed with the 2nd place spot in the venerable V12 Jaguar. Moretti got the Porsche in for a 3rd. And how about Tom Hassard and Charlie Morgan in the 9L Lights car? Through attrition, they finished 4th overall. More importantly to them, they won the Lights category, and Brock is with both of those guys.
Charlie Morgan and Tom Hassard, A long day. You guys were fighting it out with Scott all afternoon, but finally that was a breakage there. But I bet you had a couple of anxious moments when you heard that motor start to break up at the end.
No kidding. We were, you know, if you're in the car, it's one thing, but sitting on the sidelines watching the engine start to go sour at the end, and Scott went back on the track, so we got a little nervous to see him.
Tom, what was it? Just dropped a cylinder? Just a cylinder. You only got 6 of them, but...
Well, if it wasn't for Buick and Goodyear, we wouldn't have finished, and thanks for Goodyear and Buick. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. Great work on a terrific light win here today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Well, those guys certainly drove their hearts out, as did all the drivers here in the Nissan Grand Prix of Ohio. For Brock Yates, I'm Steve Evans. So long from the Buckeye State.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team. The nation's premier source of fast lane fashions, Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. And by this special offer from Diamond P.
Just incredible. You know, for 6 award-winning seasons on American Sports Cavalcade, we've shared the excitement as fearless competitors push too far. Yet, miraculously, we've watched them walk away. Diamond P has now captured all this excitement on a spectacular new home video called And They Walked Away. The mayhem of motocross, the tumbles of sprint cars, the spins of stock cars, 60 minutes of breathtaking footage. For your copy, call 1-800-453-9300 or send a check or money order to this address. Just $24.95 plus $3.50 shipping and handling. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Call 1-800-453-9300 now.
The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.